Canadian Campaholic here on a very early and sunny May morning. I just dropped our Great Dane off at a boarding facility where she'll get to play with other dogs for the next few days. I won't get into why we don't take our dog camping anymore. It's save that for another video. I'm then going to head back to the house and finish getting organized and set up and ready to go. First trip of the season is always a little nerve-wracking for me, especially since we stopped the season so early. We quit camping in August for financial reasons, and this is the first time we've been back out. And you know, we don't just leave everything laying around in the trailer. Some of it's gone into the shop, some of it's ended up in the house. So we've tried our best in the last little while to clean the trailer out, you know, clean the floors. We de-winterized, trying to restack and stock everything that needs to be in there. But inevitably, I should say, God, I can't talk this morning. We'll forget something and not know where something is. And we kind of get into a rhythm. You know, once we start getting a couple of trips under our belt, we get into a rhythm, and it's you know, beautifully choreographed. We know exactly where everything is, and we're very organized. But this morning, I just feel completely out of it. I haven't had a coffee yet, which is probably something to do with it. I just feel really disorganized. We're heading to the Pinery, one of our absolute favorites, especially in the off season. You know, April, May, and then October, November, the Pinery is fabulous. I mean, it's fabulous any time of the year, but my God, it's been busy in the summer, and it just becomes a little chaotic. A little apprehensive about going to Pinery. I know this isn't the proper term for them, but the gypsy moth caterpillars are going to be back this year. We're staying in the dunes section, though, and I believe that the gypsy moth caterpillar problem is a little less rampant in dunes. We'll see. Staying in a site that we have not stayed in before, and I know for a fact I've seen the site in person. We're gonna have to back in on the passenger side, which will be a little bit tricky, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, come along on the journey. We'll share some snippets, a highlight reel, if you will, of our trip, the first one of the 2022 camping season. Well, folks, we made it. Site number 16 at Pinery in the dunes. I was gonna do a time-lapse video of us reversing into the campsite, but I was so concentrating on getting in here without a problem that I totally forgot to set up the camera. But let me kind of show you the setup. So this is the main lane that you drive along, and here's the truck. For those of you that have watched my video on how to back a trailer into a campsite will know that coming down this lane, going this way and trying to reverse in on the driver's side around that angle would be nigh on impossible. Well, certainly would take you a long time. So what we did is we drove this way, went past the campsite on the passenger side, we hugged it to the side as close as possible, and then just very gradually oriented the trailer by turning the bottom of the wheel towards the direction that we wanted the trailer to go. Got in a position, got out and looked a couple of times to make sure that I was lined up, and straight shot back into the campsite. You might notice that it's got a little bit of a lean in this way. That's on purpose. I would never buy a trailer with a wall-mounted air conditioner again. Unless you've got a bit of a tilt on the trailer, it does not drain properly. Plus you get condensation and you get drips inside. So always, if we're going to use the air conditioner, have to tilt it ever so slightly outward. Lots of empty sites around here, including number 17, which is a site we've stayed in before. Always find it interesting, because if you were to go on the Ontario Parks Reservation site right now, all of these would show as booked. And if I was a betting man, I would say that tonight and into tomorrow, a lot of these will still be empty. Riddle me that, folks. Because if I understand correctly, if you book a site and then don't show up by 8 a.m. the next day, technically you forfeit the site, but I don't know that they really enforce that, so it drives me crazy. because our favorite site, 97, is way over there. I don't know if there's anybody in it yet. Chances are there isn't. 16's okay. We'll wander back over in a second. It's a little small, but it'll do. It'll do. We could have taken the trailer back a little further, but there's a bit of a slope there, so I didn't want to go too much further back. We went and saw the visitor center today. Went down to the beach for a little bit. We're supposed to get a bunch of rain tonight. But got the air conditioner going right now. Had to use one of my 50-foot 30-amp extensions. One of the best investments you can have with RVing, so that I could get to the power pedestal. So I've got the cord, the shore power cord that comes out of the rig, and then I've got one of my extension cords. It's a little bit knotted up and not too tidy, but that's okay, it works. I got 2 of them on Amazon a couple of years ago. That gives me 100 feet of extra reach for 30 amp, which if you're gonna run your air conditioner, you really wanna try and have 30 amp. We back onto some hills, some dunes. So fairly private site. You can see through there, but there's the fire pit when we've got our screen house set up. Table set up under the awning. But we'll rejoin the action later when we have our first fire of the 2022 season. And this, folks, is one of the little jewels in the crown of Pinery, the sunsets. Now this is not the best because we've got some rainy weather coming in. I've said this on the channel before, top 10 National Geographic sunsets. That's globally. Beautiful. Always like to bring the kids down here any evening where it's decent to enjoy this. Just a modest fire tonight. It's starting to rain a bit, actually. I don't know if you can hear the rain. We're supposed to get a fair amount of it overnight and into the morning. But the good news there is it's going to cool the temperature down. It's been pretty hot the last couple of days, almost into the 30s Celsius, which is kind of warm for this time in May. But the temperature should drop and we should experience almost fall-like weather in the next couple of days, so that'll be interesting. But didn't want to load up a ton of wood on here and have to retreat into the trailer. That's kind of a waste. But man, oh man, it is so nice to sit by a fire again after all this time. Very, very quiet here at Pinery tonight. Great first day. As I mentioned earlier, lots of empty sites. Who knows, maybe those people are going to show up. My kids went for a bike ride, and sure enough, our favorite site, nobody's in it tonight. We couldn't book it though. Go figure. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into our first day here at Pinery. Coming up next, day 2. So one of the things we like to do as part of our trips is come down to the town of Grand Bend. Definitely do not come here during the height of the summer season. Starting May 24, this place will be a circus. But look at the beach. They've groomed it. Hardly anybody's been on it. So clean and tidy, getting ready for the many months of craziness. This beach town is one of the most popular in southwestern Ontario, and during the summer months you will not be able to move down here. So we come in April, May, we stay away until mid to late September and into October. There's the Pinery way down there. You gonna wave and say hi? And of course, a trip to the Pinery would not be complete without walking down one of the many hiking trails. This one in particular, we've seen in previous videos, is the Riverside Trail. It's great because it's accessible for things like wheelchairs and strollers. There's a nice boardwalk, fairly level grade, which is good for anybody with mobility issues. And there's even a nice little dock there where you can do a light spot of fishing, providing, of course, you've got the right licenses. One of the other benefits to coming to Pinery in the early season or late season, that's the beach in one direction, and I cannot see anybody. And there's maybe two people way down there in the distance. You might not even be able to see them. But this time of year, pardon my noisy kids, you honestly feel sometimes like it's your own personal park. Fabulous. Well, folks, that'll be a wrap on our first trip of the season. As you can see, we're all hooked up. Got our bag of garbage ready to go. We've gone around the site, made it as clean as possible. You know, want to leave it nicer than when you found it. And then we're going to tow to the dumping station. Hopefully there's not a big lineup. It's a Wednesday in May, so it should be okay. And yeah, thanks for joining us on our journey along on this first trip of the season. And we'll see you in the next one. Happy camping.